Thank you. I call to order this regular meeting of the Oberlin School District Board of Education, May 28th, 2024. Please call the roll.
Ms. Gadsden?
Here.
Ms. Garrett?
Here.
Ms. Stagel?
Here.
Ms. Emeka?
Here. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for this meeting.
So moved. Second.
Uh-oh.
All right, Rosa, you got it.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Do we have any questions, additions, discussion?
We have a correction.
A correction?
Under Superintendent's Consent Agenda, item I, item 5, the 612, they transposed the numbers. It should be 62124.
Okay.
So we will be transporting their students 621, 75, and 719.
Okay. Any other additions or changes? Okay. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?
Yes.
Ms. Emeka?
Yes. Next, we have citizens' concerns on agenda items. Do we have anyone who signed up or provided anything online? No? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Next, we have news of note and presentations. The superintendent's report, Dr. Hall.
Thank you. Tonight we have several presentations on the agenda. First, I'd like to turn over to our football coach, Mr. Washington and Mr. Johnson. They're going to present first on a flag football program we started this year and the success of the program.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being asked to talk here today. Missing Mr. Johnson, but it'll be okay. First off, I'd like to thank all the parents and volunteers for helping this year. It was a great experience. The first year we kicked it off. We had over 65 kids sign up for spring flag football. We were able to hold about 45 to 55 students daily. And when I say daily, it was Tuesdays and Thursdays we held our practices. We designed the program to make it convenient for parents by offering practice directly after school, which helped our numbers a lot. We noticed. Again, our practices were Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3:30 to 5:30, with scrimmages on Saturdays, usually starting around 10 a.m. Our goals coming into this program, just building relationships with the parents, students, family, and friends. We wanted to link other communities together with Oberlin to connect and create bonds and relationships that'll last. We want to teach correct football and let the kids have fun and compete. And our staff, a couple of these guys are here today. We think we achieved that this year. Again, this is my first year in the district as head coach at Oberlin. And I took it upon myself. I coached kindergarten through second grade this spring flag football, which was a great experience for us. Then I had some of the varsity guys also. They're not here today, but some of the varsity guys also helped volunteer coach our kindergarten through second grade. But again, just a great experience working with the little ones, getting to know them, and yeah, we had fun with that. So we also hosted our first scrimmage with Lorain County Warriors this year, about 2-3 weeks ago. Again, we had a great time. It was Saturday morning. Had around 250 people attend right outside the practice fields. Great competition. Our athletes were excited. They had fun. Teamed up with the athletic boosters. We had hot dogs, chips, juice for the kids after. Again, it was a great experience, great time. All the athletes received shirts at the beginning of the season and medals at the end of the season, just to keep them around, keeping them involved, and with some rewards as well. Me and my staff will continue to learn and develop how to operate a successful program in Oberlin. A key to me being the head coach, I wanted to get in touch with the youth, get in touch with the younger kids, to start building the relationships with the parents, with the families, and I think we achieved that as well. We had some parents' feedback that I'd like to read off. So what I did, I created a Google form after the season, and I sent it out to them, just for positive, any negative, positive, any type of feedback at all, so we can continue growing this program into something that we'd like to keep. So some of the questions that I've asked is, what did you and or your child enjoy about spring flag football season? and what is something that the admin/coaches can improve for next season. So just some of the responses that they did like the game, the families, the support, working out and training. Our first grade Rose from actually this OES building, their parents wrote a nice letter. Rose loved everything about the season. She loved being included and being a part of something. She loved Coach Washington, and she looked forward to each and every practice and was so bummed anytime it got canceled. I love that it built character and gave them a way to stay active. Some of the things that some of the parents thought we had to work on. I know, especially with her age group, they said that it is tough to keep them focused. But there were some that took it seriously and some that didn't. But again, whether it's positive, whether it's negative feedback, we'd accept it all just to build this program. It was our first year, so we were just kicking it off this spring. I think we had a good response from the community, good response from the teachers, parents, everyone involved. So again, we'd like to thank you guys. It was an awesome experience, and I continue to keep supporting us, keep supporting Oberlin football, and I'm excited for the fall. Hope you guys tune in.
Any questions for Mr. Washington? Okay. Okay. As part of our youth programming plan that we started off with, we also have some other youth camps going on over the summer that Bryce and Mr. Carter started off. But this was part of our youth planning for flag football that we want to get our young kids interested in. And I know our new athletic director is on the agenda tonight. He's here in the audience, Mrs. Zillich, as well. So I know he'll continue the youth programs that we have going on for our students. And I know the elementary students were very, very happy. I came out to one of the games, and well organized, well done. Kids were happy getting passes. They dropped a few, but they were happy getting passes, and it was well done. Next, we have on our agenda, we'd like to turn over to Oberlin Elementary School. Oberlin Elementary School will have a couple presentations, and I'll turn it over to the principal, Mrs. Weber.
Thank you. This is like the Oberlin Elementary show this evening because we got quite a few presentations, and we're going to start with Mrs. Kazmierzak's class, who got to go on a trip to Playhouse Square thanks to the Oberlin Schools Endowment Fund. So they're going to share and present this evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mrs. Kazmierzak. In February of 2024, the gifted students, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade, we were able to take a trip to Playhouse Square due to the funds provided by the Oberlin Endowment Board. We were able to see Bill Blagg's magic show. The students came back to school and wrote their opinion about the trip. Today I have with me some of the students from class, and they will be presenting their opinions about the trip. This is Fran.
Hello, my name is Francis. I am in 3rd grade. The Magic Show by Francis George. The magic show was very fun. We had a long bus ride which made the trip longer, obviously. We also got to skip school for half a day. I'd say the only downside was that the audience was very loud and it hurt my ears a lot. My favorite part was when the teachers were dancing on stage. This is why I like being able to do things out of the classroom because I get to experience new things.
Thank you, Fran.
Yo, what's up? I'm Theo, or Theodore. I'm in 3rd grade. I can hold it. Okay. The magic show at Playhouse Square was a nice event for students. First, the show was very loud. Each time the speaker was done speaking, the audience started screaming at the top of their lungs because they were excited about his tricks. Second, Miss Kaz did not go up on the stage to dance, which was a relief because it would have been embarrassing. Lastly, I got to skip school until 12:25, and then I got to share with you about the trip so that you could gain knowledge about my experience. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to go. Thank you so much.
My name is Bergen. And I really liked the magic show. It was more fun than normal school. I also liked it because it took a long time to get there, which gave us more time to talk to our friends. I really liked the magic trick. My favorite trick was the last one because it was so amazing. First, the magician, Bill Black, asked for a teacher's phone. Then he put it in a catapult and launched the phone off the stage. Finally, he grabbed a box sitting next to him and opened it up. The phone was in the box. I really hope we get to do this again. Thank you for allowing us to go.
My name is Nina, and I'm in 5th grade. Bill Blaggs is a magician who travels worldwide to perform magic. Our class got to go to Bill Blagg's Magic in Motion show at Playhouse Square on February 6, 2024. In my opinion, the magic show was very exciting. First, I thought that this was an awesome experience for us. I think it was an awesome experience because it was nice to experience the real world. Some examples of that are getting to ride on the bus to Cleveland, being able to see all the buildings, and being able to go to Playhouse Square. Second, I think that the magic show was very fun and to watch and enjoy. A lot of the magic tricks he did were really cool and unbelievable and incredible. Also, a lot of the magic tricks were based on Sir Isaac Newton's laws of force and motion. This related to what our classes were learning about in science class that month. In conclusion, I think that going to see Bill Black's Magic in Motion show was really cool and a very good experience. This is why I thought that Bill Black's Magic in Motion show was very exciting and interesting.
My name is Thora. I'm in 5th grade. So my class was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to go to Playhouse Square and experience what performances in other places are like. We learned lots of interesting things that combine magic and science. First, I think that this show is so fun and it helped us experience a lot of things that are real life and how things like long bus rides and shows are like. I loved learning all the aspects of a theater. Second, the show is entertaining, how might be better suited for younger students. Finally, there were lots of great aspects of the show as well, and it helped us learn what theaters are like, and some students never got to experience this, so I thought this was very good. Thank you so much.
And last, Emmett.
Hi, I'm Emmett I'm Emmett, and I'm in 5th grade. On February 6th, a few months ago, me and my class went on a field trip to see a magic show called Bill Blagg's Magic in Motion. When I got to school on the day of the field trip, I got to class and went to the gifted room. When I got there, some people were already there, but not many. When we arrived, we got paired with someone to sit with on the bus. It was a long trip there. When we got to the theater, it was a bit small, but we found our seats. Wait. Oh yeah. He started with a trick where he drew a bowling ball on a notebook, and then he closed the notebook and made a bowling ball fall out of it. Then after that, he where was it? Oh yeah, it was right here. Oh yeah. And then when he was done, he performed a closing act for everyone to see. He asked the teacher for a phone and put it in a catapult, launched it, and it went away midair and arrived in a box on the other side of the room. It was an incredible experience that I had at Bill Blagg's Magic Show, and I learned a lot about science and yeah. On the way home, we had tons of fun with all the people that were there on the bus. I had a contest with my friend Faith, who could name more Taylor Swift songs, so we couldn't keep track, so we called it a tie. Honestly, it was one of the best experiences I've had in my life because of all the fun. Also, thank you for postponing these presentations from the April meeting. I'm Jewish, so my family was observing Passover that night. I am very grateful.
Thank you again for the money for the trip.
All right, up next, we will have some presentations from our students' different music ensembles. So Oberlin City Schools was voted at, or got the honor of being best communities for music education this year. So we wanted to highlight our musicians.
All right, as they get themselves organized, they know what to do. As Mrs. Weber said, we did get recognized for Best Communities for Music Education, and we did a little research. We've got that for 12 years, we've had that award. And it says that Best Communities for Music Education program is a signature program of the NAM Foundation that recognizes and celebrates schools and districts for their support and commitment to music education and efforts to assure access to music for all students as part of a well-rounded education. And I want to thank all of you, because without your support, we wouldn't be able to do what we are doing. So thank you for helping us be able to be recognized and earn that award. And we wanted to make sure to give all of the board members a fun little sticker that you can use on water bottles or laptops, whatever works for you. And this award has been around for 25 years, and like I said, we've been able to receive it for 12 years. So before I bring those stickers to you, these kids right here are going to perform a song that we recently learned called Great Big House in New Orleans. And why did I teach you this song? Because tomorrow they get to pie the principal. And this mentions about rooms being filled with pie. So we did lots of exploring with different flavors of pie and decoding them into certain rhythms. And at one point, once we do the little dance, they're going to teach you how to play an ostinato, which is a repeating rhythm using a flavor of pie. And you're going to be responsible for playing that ostinato when we sing and do the dance a second time around. So I'm going to give you the stickers, and then we'll get started.
Excellent.
And then you're going to lift it up. Be very careful of the microphones and show them how to play that rhythm, that ostinato rhythm. What are they supposed to find first?
The big C.
The big C.
The big C. The big C. I don't have anything to hit it with.
Peanut butter rest. Rest. Okay.
Play that rhythm.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Do you have any more? Oh, thank you.
Okay. On the C. Okay.
Did I do okay?
Oh, that's fine. That is fine. You're good.
Oh,
You're
good.
good. Can I clap?
Like that? Okay.
So we get to play play along with you?
All right,
Yes, thank you.
I'm ready.
All right, come form your circle. I don't know what to say. All right, that's how it's start, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Scarlett, you need your phone? Thank you. Xylophone players, you're going to start for us, and we're going to go peanut butter, peanut butter, ready, go. Peanut butter, peanut butter. Ready to do your dance?
Oh, wait. Wait,
Thank you for teaching us.
thank you.
Thank you.
You all are awesome.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
You're awesome too. Wait, we forgot a mallet. We forgot a mallet. That was awesome.
Didn't know you were gonna work tonight.
That's all right. I could use 2 mallets.
All right, I am Emily Cromwell, if you don't know. I'm the orchestra director, and I'm bringing a small part of the 5th grade orchestra to show you a little bit, a really small bit of what we do in a year. So first, we're gonna play pizzicato, which means we're gonna pluck the strings. We're gonna show you Twinkle Twinkle, a song hopefully everyone will know, and I hope you enjoy. About halfway through the year in January, they got a little bowing license. So they can't drive yet, but they have permission to drive on their strings. So we learned all about how to set up their bow. Can the 4 of you show us how we have our bow hold? Just hold your bow in the air. Yep, that's perfect. So they built that over just a few weeks. And now we're going to play Twinkle Twinkle one more time, but with the bow, because they all have their license. Woohoo! I want them to show you a little bit about how they hold their instrument. So you 4, would you choose some board members and show them how you set up your instrument, like we learned at the very beginning of the year?
You can show me
There you go.
yours. It's okay.
Ah.
Nice. That looks very easy for you.
Ah. Do all violins only have 4 strings?
Okay, so usually I play the cello, so my pinky finger goes down here. But for violin, it goes up
Okay.
there.
I didn't realize that.
Thank you for showing me.
Yep.
All right.
Nice.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Jakin. I'm the band director. You probably see me on Friday nights. So I have 2 members of the 5th grade band. This is Emmett and Carlos, and they both play the trumpet. And we are learning a little bit about how sound works with our instruments. So you've noticed that I've had them turn this way rather than turning at you or the audience, because their instruments are much louder. And we've talked about protecting our ears while we're making music. So boys, can you take your mouthpieces off for a minute? And can you show the board members how you learn to buzz on the instrument? So we go from that sound to beautiful trumpet music. And so we're going to play Hot Cross Buns to start. So the great thing about music is that music is all about telling stories. And so the next 2 tunes we'll do back to back. You can clap in between though. It's London Bridge and Frere Jacques. And we did this for our concert 2 weeks ago.
All right, great job.
Hi, my name is Miss Harrison, and I'm here representing our wonderful 5th grade team and all of our 5th grade students and exhibition this year. I'm not sure how to get this started this year.
Yeah, man, Super Steve come over.
Super Steve. So as we're waiting for the sound to get started, I just want to say we have a brand new IB coordinator this year, and her name is Jennifer Humphrey, and she put in a lot of effort into exhibition, and she introduced us to some new things during exhibition, and I want to share those with you tonight. Are there any questions while Clear Touch is starting? Here we are. All right. First of all, this year we had up a lot of representation down in the hallways, and the fifth grade team, all the fifth grade classes worked together to create murals to build excitement for exhibition. So this is a central idea. The world, young people express their beliefs and values through taking action in the world. So we put that in the hallway. They put that in the hallway. And technical difficulty. We go back. Up. It's upside down. All right, so some highlights for this year are like I said, our new IB coordinator coordinated members of the fifth grade teams, coordinated mentors for the fifth grade team. This is us coming out of the pandemic, like full-fledged. This year we had mentors. We also got to take groups outside on field trips to meet people in life for their interviews. So she designed a slideshow for exhibition night and the exhibition program brochure, which I'll hand out before the end. Mentors are back, field trips are back, and we're in full swing. Again, our exhibitions, our central idea, young people express their beliefs and values by taking action in the world. We also have this year an artwork design team, which is new. So we made a poster for this year to express exhibition. And there is our exhibition design was created by the art club members. So these are all fifth grade students, some of who you have heard play this evening. So there's the art club that created it. And our first stage, as we all remember, for exhibition is research. So here's some images of research in action. And then, of course, the interview with an expert in the field. So here are some images of the interviews with experts. Some of it was still on Zoom, some in person. Some members of the community, some members of our very own staff. And then here's about the action projects that are central to exhibition. So this year we had a group, Litter in Oberlin. Their action project was in the field, taking actual action, picking up litter in our community. Fast fashion, I wish we had this video. I'm going to have to explain it to you. They did a public service announcement. So on the video, they showed us how to reuse our old t-shirts so we can turn them into reusable bags. So they made a public service announcement. They sent it out to the school, but I would be tempted to send it out to the entire community if they have the opportunity. So again, Plastic Pollution Group took action by organizing a plastic bag drive and collecting thousands of plastic bags. They won't go in the ocean, but instead they become compassionate carpets. Our Save the Salamanders group created an education campaign to inform our community about this important problem. And then for one of their action projects, this Plastic Pollution Group member wrote a children's story called The Carbon Chronicles to educate children about plastic pollution. This group, Save the Bees exhibition group, planted their own pollinator gardens and then created seed packets with instruction cards so that everyone that came to exhibition could plant their own pollinator gardens. I'll share that with you at the end. And creating the exhibition board and prepare to present to the topic to the community. Right after their research is done, they get ready to figure out how are they going to present to the community on exhibition night. So here are images of our wonderful fifth graders designing their exhibition boards. Once the boards are designed, of course, then comes the how to present our research. And students, groups worked on their own, but teachers and mentors were there every step of the way to support them. So here are some of our fifth grade teachers and our mentors. Even our principal was a mentor this year. There's our IB director, teachers you know. And then finally, it's exhibition night, and the groups present their work and their research to the community. So this is what it looks like. There's our whole fifth grade class, and there are images from exhibition night. And as we close, I am here to pass out to you the board of the program that the children presented, which is brand new this year for exhibition, and to their action projects so that you can go home and plant your own pollinator garden, and then on your refrigerator you can put a magnet to remind you to recycle.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if you can let them know, I came that night and got some and planted them, and I planted my milkweed already, so, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Can we have another round of applause for our students as well? They did a phenomenal job. District have great students here. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Weber. She's going to respond to some of the information regarding reporting back to the board information from last board meeting. And she has a presentation that she designed and created.
If I can
Thank
get
you,
this
Ms.
to
Weber.
click through. I think I'm clicking the wrong way. There we go. All right, so thanks for giving me this opportunity to come tonight and update you a little bit regarding the items that were brought up at our previous board meeting. So tonight's focus areas are broken down under this agenda, which will be impact and requirements, kind of understanding statistics related to behavior across the state, and actually it's across the country. Ohio revised code policy that we have to follow as an elementary school. Tiered behavior support, so kind of explaining what our PBIS framework is here at the elementary school, and the tiered levels of support that we offer to all of our students. Professional development that we have done with our staff and potential future professional development. An outline of special education. I know that was something that was asked for more information on, so I'm going to be reviewing that. And then also communication, current methods, and then future plans. So to start with, just kind of getting an understanding of the impact that COVID has had on students and their social emotional development and their behavioral development. This is actually from a study by the School Pulse Panel, and the School Pulse Panel is part of the Institute of Educational Services and Statistics. They do yearly surveys with principals, but it really started to become heavier after COVID because there were a lot of regulations and federal mandates that were placed on schools post-COVID, and they wanted to know how are schools handling it, what are they seeing. And these are just some key findings. So this data is actually broken down by elementary schools because I wanted to look at what was happening at elementaries because that's what I work. Also, I looked at schools that had a population, a number of students similar to ours. And more than 80% of schools who participated reported seeing stunted behavioral and emotional development in students. And again, that data was reflected in schools of our size and also at the elementary level. The study also examined the impact on social emotional development. 87% of elementary schools strongly agreeing or agreeing that they had had a negative, that COVID-19 had had a negative impact on kids' development. A lot of the skills that kids are learning in kindergarten, preschool, first grade, when it comes to communicating with others, sharing, how to deal with strong feelings, they didn't get necessarily hands-on opportunity to do because some of our students were sent home during the second half of kindergarten. For first grade, to keep them safe health-wise, they were online. And even when they returned in second grade, there were still a lot of constraints as far as there was no sharing of materials, it's not center time, a lot of in the same room but in your own little silo. They noticed in this study that rowdiness outside of the classroom was up 49%. So that would be places like hallways, dismissal, arrival, and then classroom disruptions because of misconduct. And the study wasn't enough to just say, okay, we recognize these things are happening. You know, so an excuse becomes a factor when you decide to do something with it. So how are you turning this into a factor? And that's by addressing it. And one of the resources that schools felt they needed was more training on social emotional development and more support for students and staff in mental health, which was 79%. And I'm going to get a little bit into how we're addressing those two things here at Oberlin Elementary. Before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about Ohio Revised Code requirements. This is something that came into fruition around 2018, 2019. It's actually part of Ohio's Each Child, Our Future. This plan started then where it was wanting to see a reduction in out-of-school suspensions for any grade, third and under, where their hope was by 21-22, that all out-of-school suspensions would be eliminated. There are some stipulations or circumstances that do still allow for out-of-school suspensions, which are things like if a student brought a firearm to school, if they brought a knife to school, or if they committed an act that if it were committed by an adult outside of the school, it would be it would have serious physical harm to a person or property. The reason this came into act was because there were considerations on what's the impact that suspensions are having on our younger students who need time in school, such as it adds to student truancy. It also has a loss of instruction. It also creates barriers with them learning the social emotional skills that they need to return to the classroom.
Also with that, their legislators are currently looking at expanding out to grades 4 and 5 as well. Sorry.
So, nope, thank you for the reminder. One of the pieces of data that Oberlin Elementary uses is called Aperture. It's a rating screener that uses the DESA Mini. It measures the social and emotional skills of the kids. We do it 3 times a year. Every teacher who has a home-based class, they rate every student in their classroom based on a list of questions. And the students can be labeled or categorized as need, typical, or strength. So it tells us about competencies such as self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, their relationship skills. Do they have goal-directed behavior? Personal responsibility, decision-making, and optimistic thinking. And it helps us identify the kids who are in need, typical, or have strength. Our current data from the spring 2024, because we just completed this in the last semester, shows that 77% of our students actually fall in the typical category. 15 students are considered to have strength, and 8% were identified as need. Now, students also get an individual rating in each one of those competencies, but then they take all of those competencies and make an overall composite score. So that bar graph actually represents our composite scores for kids. What do we do with this data? The competency scores are used to help us identify social groups that work with our guidance counselor, Mr. Icecamp, or our school or district social worker, Miss Angelica. So if we have a group of students who might need more time and development and decision making, we make a group for those students to meet with Mr. Icecamp or Miss Angelica throughout the school year. It also offers teachers lessons. So the actual suite has individual lessons for one-on-one students, small groups, whole class. So if a teacher sees an overarching need in their classroom, they're able to pull lessons from there to do with their students. And then finally, our MTSS team actually evaluates the data to identify building-wide needs. We look at what does the data show us, but we also talk about who are the students and what tier of support do we need to move them into. And this talks a little bit about tiered behavior support. So this is very similar to academic tiers. We're used to thinking about tiers when it comes to academics, which means there's tier 1 instruction. It's the instruction everybody's getting. Tier 2 might be a small group within your classroom. And then tier 3 is more intensive. So the same goes for tiered behavioral supports. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what happens at each of our tiers. So at Tier 1, this is universal. This is for all students here at OES. They take part in the Aperture ratings. They also have weekly second step lessons with Mr. Icecamp, our school guidance counselor. We have the school-wide PBIS, or positive behavior intervention support. So if you walk through our halls or around our building, you'll see our RISE motto. You'll also see a matrix posted throughout the building that shows the students the expectations of behaviors in each of those areas of the building, and they're really specific from the hallway to the cafeteria to the bus. It spans the whole building. And finally, something new that's coming next year, and this was something that our MTSS team, so our teachers and our administrative team have recognized, is next year we'll have daily social emotional blocks built into the daily schedule. So the first 10-15 minutes of every day next year will be what we kind of call a soft start, where students are coming with lots of different experiences before they walk across our school door. So we're going to be devoting some time in the morning to addressing social emotional needs. Those could be lessons from Aperture. It could be follow-ups to second step. It could be restorative circles with students, but this will be a time that our whole building will be supporting that Tier 1. Tier 2, as I mentioned, those are weekly small group supports. We also have a mentorship program called Be There Buddy. And that is when we have students who maybe they are struggling with behavior, emotions, academics, or it could be attendance, and they are actually mentored by a different staff member other than their teacher because it gives them another smiling face who welcomes them to the building. We do a lot of goal setting with those kids. We sit down, we talk about what do you want to achieve. The mentor and the teacher are in communication, so the mentor kind of has some background knowledge on this is something that would be a great thing to target. And then they meet with their buddy weekly to check in on their goals, congratulate them for reaching goals, and have celebrations. We also have a reflection room as part of Tier 2, so sometimes students just need time away from the classroom, not necessarily out of school, but it's an opportunity for them to work with a staff member. They still get academics during that time and services, but it's also a time where they can go into our reflection room and work with a staff member to talk about positive choices, review the RISE matrix, and talk about next steps, how to make amends. Finally, at Tier 3, we work with ABA Therapies. They create behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for some of our students. And again, this is the smallest tier, so this is the smallest population of students. We also work with them, and they conduct functional behavior assessments, where they come in and they actually observe our students, of course, with family permission, and they find out what is the motivator behind the behavior. Is it tangible? They want something. Is it avoidance? Is it attention seeking? And then they give the teachers strategies of how to positively fulfill those needs of our students. We also work with outside agencies such as Applewood, Galveston, and the Nord Center. And we have relationships with PEP Academy and Educational Alternatives. Professional development that we've had in the past, we've had Crisis Prevention Intervention Team, which is CPI, and this is programming that teaches staff how to manage disruptive behaviors and in difficult situations. Focuses a lot on de-escalation. All paraprofessionals in our building, intervention specialists, lead teachers, and administrators are part of our CPI team. They're on call throughout the entire building and placed throughout the entire building, so there's always a staff member available for those situations. Last year, Ms. Baker and myself arranged for PEP, which is Positive Education Programming. They led our staff in PD on strategies for challenging behaviors in our day-to-day routines and also de-escalation strategies. And that was an ongoing PD that we revisited throughout the rest of the school year. We have student intervention and self-regulation training that happened this year. Mr. Icecamp worked with our paraprofessionals, monitors, library aides, and literacy aides. They were given the opportunity to participate in sessions that talked about positive ways to interact with our students. We also had executive functioning professional development this year, which was in February. And that was led by Ms. Wyman, one of our intervention specialists, and Mr. Icecamp. Staff were able to learn how to support students through guided practice and minimizing demands on working memory. We learned a lot about what, if you have executive functioning, what are tasks that are easy for you and kind of come just rote, and things that are very challenging for you, and how we can help those students. We also have had cultural humility, which was the entire Oberlin City Schools staff, and we've had continual PD with Dr. James Knight around the aspects of cultural humility, how to create an environment in a classroom, in a school building, in an office, in a hallway, that everyone feels valued and respected, and it helps to have those relationships that are more open to dialogue, and students become better at understanding other people's perspectives. We have future considerations for PD, which is the Ohio Partnerships for Excellence in Paraprofessional Preparation, continued partnerships with ABA. We'll be working with the state support team through the ESC on our PBIS implementation across the building. We will have ongoing response to intervention. So response to intervention is something that typically we've thought of as academics needs, where a student may be struggling, we give them supports academically, and then we track data to see if they're making progress. And we will continue that with academics, but also with social, emotional, and behavioral needs, where they will have weekly meetings, and usually the topic changes. One week it's academic, another week might be reading, then math, and then social, emotional needs. We're continually talking about students and their needs for support. We will also have Handle with Care training that Mr. Nimini is working to coordinate for us, and we will continue our collaboration with the MARS board, who assist us when we have students in critical need. Special education at OES. So over the past few years and into next year, we've worked to broaden our continuum of services. So when a student has an IEP developed for them, they have the right to a free, appropriate public education in their least restrictive environment. And least restrictive environment is defined as most reflective of that of their non-disabled peers. And it's a continuum because it's not one size fits all for every kid, and we recognize that. So what we've done to address that is we have students who are in general education and do inclusion models. In-class support, so the class might be co-taught or the subjects co-taught, or paraprofessional support students in the gen ed classroom. Pull-out services, both subject or behavior specific, where they go to an intervention specialist and see them for a portion of the day. We also have cross-categorical rooms for students who they may spend more portion of their day there. We do work with separate schools, so they're alternative placements like Education Alternatives, Murray Ridge, and Positive Education Program. And then the last is home instruction, where some students are placed on home instruction and the district provides them a teacher or tutor to go out and work with them. Our staffing has increased, and the building is very appreciative of the board and their support with that. We currently have 6 intervention specialists on staff, 11 paraprofessionals, occupational therapists, speech language therapists, physical therapists, literacy aides, social worker, guidance counselor, and other outside agencies that I mentioned before that we continue to work with for our special education students. The last part of our slide is just about communication. So, these are just some ways that we communicate consistently, monthly or bi-monthly newsletters from myself, which are all contributions of our teachers. I'll put out saying I'd like to put some information out to families. If you have anything to share, sometimes it's a volunteer, sometimes it might be voluntold that I need some information, right? Classroom newsletters from teachers, conferences. We use the Remind app, the district website. We host family math and literacy events. We send out voice blasts, email blasts. PTO meetings is a great one. I am almost always at the PTO meetings just as another face from the building and to talk with parents. But moving forward, we also recognize that the last PTO meeting, and something I appreciated, was the information they were wanting to know about schools or the communication they're needing. Came up with a solution for a monthly coffee chat that we'll be hosting starting next year. So next year, every month, I'll host a monthly coffee chat for families to attend. And it'll be a chance for them to learn about what's happening, special topic presentations, things like at the beginning of the year, it might be things like what's in the handbook, what is our PBIS matrix, what does that mean? And then as we move throughout the year, topics like how do you read the grade card or report card, what do these numbers mean, what's standards-based grading, how are we preparing to go to middle school, those types of things, and then state testing. And then we'll have quarterly principal and parent roundtables. This will just be a parent committee that meets with me or the administrative team about 4 times a year to discuss current happenings in the school, the community, et cetera. Maybe something that wasn't touched upon at one of the monthly coffee chats, but just an opportunity for them to come in and ask questions and share ideas. And that's all I have. Any questions?
The way back in your presentation, you talked about how there's a directive basically from the state to move towards ending out-of-school suspension up to grade 3. What about in-school suspension? Does that still exist? If it does, what does it look like, and how often do we use it?
So I knew there would be questions, and I'm glad there are, but I came prepared. So we do use our reflection room as an alternative for out-of-school suspension. It's a time for the student to be away from the classroom where normally maybe before the Ohio Revised Code change where the student might have been removed from school. We use it now as our in-school reflection. We also do things like small group activities. We also do school service, which is if a student will say was misusing supplies, what service can they do to their classroom to make amends for that? And maybe if they were breaking all the pencils, maybe they have spent some time helping sharpen pencils. So we really, through the restorative practices with students, we recognize that we're going to make mistakes, we're going to make errors. It's how do we move forward and mend those relationships? Because you're part of a bigger ecosystem, you have to coexist. Oberlin's a small town where the people you probably sat with in kindergarten are going to be the people you sit next to on the stage at graduation. So how can you make amends with each other that you can continue those relationships in a positive way? We also do our mentoring program. We do work with community health services, mental health services to help some of those students.
Are you done? I have questions.
I did have another question. And kind of as a follow-up to that, is it, like, what is the policy for the school in terms of when you do take that step of either one, sending the student out of the classroom for what you just described, or eventually, suspending them, because I assume that still happens some.
Yeah. So anytime a student is suspended out of school, they're given due process, which means they have the opportunity to tell their side of the story. We also spend time with them and their family, talking about what happened. I always ask the students, I read back to them what they told me when I'm taking notes, and I always tell them, stop me if I'm wrong, because sometimes I might be, right? But sitting down together, talking with the family, I explain to them what our handbook policy says. I talk about the state Ohio Revised Code, and we also talk about plans for reintegration. And I think that's a big piece, is sending them students home. Again, it adds to truancy. It's a loss of instruction. It's a loss of opportunity to garner those social emotional needs. But we talk about what's the plan for coming back. So when you're allowed back at school, what can we do to support you? What do you need for us to help you move forward? Sometimes it is a daily check-in with myself or someone in the office. It might be they eat breakfast with me or another staff member that morning to just talk about coming up with a plan and how to make amends moving forward. For the in-school reflection room, that's something that can only be assigned by myself or the assistant principal. It's not something that teachers just send kids down whenever. Students are there for different durations of time. Sometimes it might be maybe the lunchroom was a little hard for you. So the next day you're just going to eat your lunch in there, but the rest of your day will be in your regular classroom. But when they're in there, teachers prepare work for them, so they're still getting the academic supports that they would have gotten in the classroom. And then myself and our administrative team also check in with them throughout the day to see how things are going. And again, there's that restorative piece.
Right. So thank you for that answer. It was very thorough. I need to clarify my question though, because what I was asking is kind of what's the process as far as the teacher, like the decision-making process of how does it get to the point where they go to the reflection room, or how does it get to the point where they actually get suspended?
I gotcha. So when it comes to how that's communicated to us, our teachers send us Power School entries, and it's called like an office referral. And one of the first things the teachers put in there is office action needed, yes or no. There are sometimes that they're just making a record of something, but if it says office action needed, yes, then myself or Mr. Ray, our assistant principal, go immediately get the student. There are times where we might have the student before, if it was a very disruptive behavior, they may just call us and say, can you come up? Sometimes we'll stay up there and help this student reintegrate. Other times we'll say, come with us for a little while. So there's always a process for us to make sure that we're following kind of the handbook outline and policy outline. For students being suspended out of school, it usually has to be something that's very unsafe. And families here in Oberlin have been very understanding that sometimes we just need some time away from the building. And it might not be to this extreme, but it's still something that causes serious concern about them being reintegrated into the classroom. But our reflection room is utilized more than out-of-school suspension, of course.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. My question was with the aperture chart that you showed, that's the end of the school year, and do you have a beginning of the school year comparison for
We
it?
do. I don't have it on this slide, but we do have that data, and we can get it to you. That's
Yeah,
not a
if you
problem.
could email it, that would be fantastic.
Yep.
And then my other question was supporting the teachers, which I think you just answered. So when a teacher is having trouble with a student, they call and someone will come up to the classroom and try to resolve it that way. And that's my concern, like especially with our newer, younger teachers, making sure that we're supporting them and making sure that they know how to get the help that they need if they need help with a student or in general.
One of the other things we developed this year, and I already have 2 teachers who are eager to help us keep refining it, was we actually created a matrix. So it was based off of our PBIS matrix. We created a matrix for teachers that if they're experiencing disruptions in the classroom, what are some resources or strategies they could use if it's a small infraction, something they feel like I can handle this, all the way to this is something that needs to be sent to the office right away. So we're giving them a little more guidance. And like I said, I had 2 teachers who already approached me and said, we'd really like to work on that a little bit more. It was kind of great to come in, but we can make it even stronger.
And then I guess my last question is, like as a parent, when my child comes home and says, like I'm having this problem at school, like I know who to contact in what order, but is that clearly explained to the guardians of our students? If I'm having a problem, I call my teacher. If I can't resolve the problem that way, who do I call next?
I hope that all parents feel comfortable contacting their teacher first, because it might be an account that happened in that classroom, and they would be your best resource because they're there every day, all day with the students. But, I still stand by, at the beginning of the year, I established that I have an open door policy. You can email me, you can call me, you can come up. Even if I'm busy, stop at the desk, talk to Mrs. Newcomb or Mr. Bradley, make an appointment to meet with me. I always have times for our families, but I understand what you mean as far as like, where should I start? Would be a great way for us to communicate next year, saying, start here, and if it's not resolved, keep going.
Right.
Because we're all on the same team and here for
Exactly.
support.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you for the excellent presentation. Obviously, these post-pandemic years have been challenging across the country and indeed the world. And it's clear that you and your staff have designed an excellent program.
Hey, Ken, can
to
you
address
use your
these.
mic?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I love the PBIS approach and restorative practices. Certainly would love to see school suspensions ended. It seems don't see it being helpful at that grade level. Yet something clearly broke down, and I want to know if next year will be different. Will OES be able to reduce the disruptive behavior that we heard about last month, or do you feel that level of disruptive behavior is is just normal and just sort of what we're going to have to accept.
I would hope that schools never have the goal of being stagnant and not improving, right? And one of the things that our students always hear me say is not practice makes perfect, but practice makes progress. So the more we recognize and use our data and put systems in place, I hope we continue to make progress, that these disruptions do start to decrease over time. It won't be overnight because we have to have time to implement strategies, develop professional development, and work with families.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things we also work with is, we forgot to mention, was Kurt Russell also work with our staff as well on building relationships. I'd like to thank Mr. Niske as well for working with Mr. Ninemi on Hannah Wolf Care as well. Thanks for your contacts and working with this district. In the coffee chats you're mentioning, I'm sure we know a facility that can host a coffee chat. So the Slow Train have hosted one, our parent night for us as well at one time. A couple other announcements I'd like to make. District would like to thank everyone who attended our Memorial Day event. Also, our condolences to all the families who've lost soldiers during that time, our lost soldiers overseas, our lost soldiers at the same time. And also our graduation, we'd like to announce that as well. We will have our graduation at Finney at 4 o'clock on Saturday, June the 1st. And we have 7 students and an alternate that made it to the state track meet in Dayton. I'd like to wish them the best of luck. And I'd like to thank Mr. Betts and Mr. Bryce Johnson, who coordinated the event and making sure that our students did well. We have some great athletes here that's doing a phenomenal job, and they're going to be honored that at the state, and wish them the best of luck. Hopefully we'll be able to go see them. And that concludes my report, and we have a facilities update from Mr. Eibel. Oh, one more thing. I'd like to do, Mr. Drew Siley made a presentation at City Council. I'd like to provide the community with an update from there. I attended that meeting that he did with the City Council, and he made a strong reinforcement with us that reinforcing that he would like the facility to be utilized as some office space for now, but he definitely want to move that in a housing direction. So got great feedback from the City Council, and hopefully we'll have more conversations with Mr. Siley. Also, Mr. Siley, I'm working with him, and Mr. Eibel's working with him on providing an update and presentation either before the board or for a community talk session as well in June. Mr. Eibel?
That was a good portion of facility update, but thank you. So I wanted to talk about the City Council. I was not able to attend the City Council meeting, so hopefully we'll have Mr. Siley come and give us an update as well. I know we're shutting down for the school year with the students and the staff, but we are just ramping up in the maintenance department. So it gets to be a crazy busy time. So Mr. Morrick has done a great job scheduling the work that's going to be done this summer with our custodians, our head custodians, and our district maintenance. Every floor will be touched, of course, whether it's scrubbed or cleaned and a new, if it's a hard surface, a wax applied if it needs that. You look around, you'll see lots of scuffs and handprints on the walls. We will remove those. We aren't repainting everything, of course, but we will be touching those up so they look good again. We'll get them as back to fresh as we can get them. But so we've got, the buildings are still in use throughout the summer. We have summer school, we have kinder camp, we have safety town, but we do work around all of those, and we'll do our best with that. Last piece, kind of operations, I want to give a shout out to our bus drivers, because we have had an unbelievable year in transportation. Our bus drivers have done an unbelievable job. And just a brief example, these last couple months, March, April, May, we have 5 bus drivers, 4 routes. So every basketball team, baseball team, softball team, there's one of those 4 people attached to them to bring them home late at night. And spring is really, really busy because we start doing all of our trips, because we do it after testing. So Saturdays, Sundays, routinely getting home 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then they come back in and they get ready to roll their bus routes at 6:30 in the morning. So wanted to give a shout out to them because it's been a tough few months, and they haven't skipped a beat. Also want to thank Mr. Reinhardt, Dr. Hall, Mr. Nemeny. They have all driven vans of students with special needs or preschool. We have all done it. So I want to thank you guys. Those are all things that go unnoticed, that they put in unbelievable hours, and they always see the kids in the morning with a smile, and the kids don't know it. So I wanted to give a shout out to our transportation department and help with these guys, because it's been a tough spring, and we got it done. Almost. Tomorrow, we have all the kids going to Country Skate Land with LMS, so we need 4 drivers to get those kids to Country Skate Land tomorrow afternoon, but we'll get them there. So that was what I had.
So clarifying question.
Yes, ma'am.
For Drew Siley and the Eastwood development, is it correct that he is 2 months into the 6-month due diligence period? And can you kind of just reiterate for all of us, what does the due diligence period mean?
So he's doing title searches, background, looking into the properties. If you remember when we were doing pieces earlier where you want to make sure that whatever you're going to do with the property is able to hold that and sustain that, whether it be physically. He's also meeting with City Council and talking about plans and things that he can do to move forward with the project that they're interested in, as well as keeping our goals in mind of having residential pieces added to that. So really it's about feasibility, that they aren't going to be stuck with a piece of property that they can't do what they want to do with.
Right, so there's no actual set plan yet as far as development is
No,
concerned?
no.
He's like researching and trying to gather information around what can actually be done?
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, I'm not sure if Mr. Nicola would like to talk about, we have item B coming up here in the board items with approval of the resolution as well for OFCC project update for the board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Back in 2017 or 18, the board entered into a project agreement with the state. That was to build one K-12 building and demolish Prospect, Eastwood Middle School and High School. We started building the K-5 portion of that, or we started designing it, and we request a waiver not to have a storm shelter. So we amended that agreement, so that was our first amendment. We moved forward, we built the K-5 building, and then we determined that we really didn't think it's was the best plan to build the 612 portion onto that. We felt a separate 612 building would be better. So we worked on that, we worked with the state, they recalculated our enrollment, but basically we came up with a plan to modify our project agreement now moving forward that would include a separate 612 building. And as we talked about the last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we think we can build the 6-8 portion now and build the 9-12 portion later. It still includes money for abatement and demo of Eastwood, the middle school and high school, if it's needed. So that's what this second amendment is, to redefine our project master plan to include what I said, the 2 separate buildings, and still include the abatement and demo of the 3 others, because Prospect was sold. So we're hoping you pass that tonight and we can move along, get the funding for it, pass it, and begin construction hopefully about a year from now, a year and a half from now. Questions?
And that's a 612 that's on the same campus as the K-5?
Yes. It would be adjacent to the high school, about 30, 40 feet away. So once it's built, the middle school kids could access the high school and use the resources there. And then at some future point in time, you would build the 9-12 portion attached to the 6-8 portion, and then either demo the existing high school or repurpose it for another use.
Is that ground plan available on the website?
It was presented at one of the meetings. I don't know if it was last meeting or 2 meetings ago.
Sure. We can place it on there.
I'm sure
Yeah,
Dr.
place it
Hall
on there.
or Bob have it to provide it.
I know there's one that shows like the elementary school and the high school with those 2 separate portions on it. So having that available so people understand what we're talking about.
As long as they keep in mind that's tentative.
Yes.
We don't know if we're going to run into any soil issues or
Right.
those things. We're haven't designed the building yet. This is just kind of a conceptual drawing, what it could look like, what we think it'll look like, but it could always vary from that.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. I will entertain a motion to approve board items A through D.
B.
B. Oh, I'm sorry. You go in order. A through B.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve board items A through B. A is approval of the April 23, 2024 regular session minutes. B is approval of the resolution to accept the second amended master facility plan for the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission Expedited Local Partnership Program, which is what Mr. DiNicola was just addressing.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, discussion, comments? Nope. Okay, hearing none. Please call the roll.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?
Yes.
Ms. Ameca?
Yes. I will now entertain a motion to approve board item C.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve board item C, which is approval of the resolution determining that the school district is a special needs district and authorizing the preparation and filing of materials in connection with applications for I, designation of the school district as a special needs district pursuant to section 13306E of the revised code, and 2, consents pursuant to section 133.06C of the revised code. Can we get some clarification on what that
Yes.
means?
Districts that are doing an ELP project like we are working with OSFC. There is, Ohio Revised Code has a set limit on how much the district can go in debt to. And this is, if we do pass the next resolution and it moves to the November ballot, we would need special permission to the special needs. We would fall under the special needs because we don't have the borrowing capacity for the $22 million that we're looking at to put on the ballot in November. So this is just getting a pre-permission to put that ballot issue on the ballot.
Okay. And this is connected to the second phase of our building
Yes.
project? Got it. Okay, any questions, comments, discussion around this particular board item? Nope. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?
Yes.
Ms. Ameca?
Yes. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve board item D.
Oh, so moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve board item D, which is approval of the resolution declaring the necessity of submitting to the electors of the school district the question of the issuance of school improvement bonds in the aggregate principal amount of $22 million pursuant to section 133.18 of the revised code. Can you kind of like?
Yes, so what this is the first step for the district to put a bond issue on is to contact the county auditor to find out what millage is needed to put on the ballot language. And then the next resolution with this would be actually coming up with the bond language and getting it certified by the auditor and the Board of Elections. And all that has to be done by August 4th, I think, of this year. So we would be looking at putting the second resolution on in June since the board doesn't meet in July.
Any questions, comments, discussion regarding this board item? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?
Yes.
Ms. Ameca?
Yes. Okay, next I will entertain a motion to approve treasurer items A through E.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Bob?
Yes. Okay, for the month of April, we ended the month with $20,991,648.34. We had outstanding warrants of $7,279.90, and we balanced to the penny. Interest for the month was $53,072.62, bringing our year-to-date total of interest to $490,498.71. Much improvement over last year. For the 5-year forecast, in the comparison from this year to last year, we're down $400,000 in revenue. Most of that is from the income tax because we saw the $400,000 spike in income tax in the fiscal year 23, which was the last leg of COVID, giving that income statements were extended out. We get quarterly payments of income statement, our income tax from the state. So each quarter is already a quarter behind before we receive it. So when they moved the filing deadline from April to July, it really shifted how we collected that money. And now that cycle is over. So now we should be on a steady cycle and see steady growth of the income tax for the rest of the time. With expenses, we are total expenses right now, we are down $4 million. Most of that is from a $2 million advance that we gave to the debt fund when we, instead of reissuing the district's $2,950,000 notes, instead of reissuing those into bonds, the board decided to loan money from the general fund to pay that debt off early, and then have the debt fund pay us back as the taxpayers, the community, paid the debt fund back. So we've saved all the interest dollars from that to borrow it since we had the money in the general fund, more or less. And then we also transferred the Nexus money. The district decided 2 years ago, when we started collecting the public utility money from the Nexus pipeline through the district, to hold that money so that it could only be used for phase 2 of the project. So with clarification from the state auditor saying that you could only go $500,000 in reserve in the general fund, we were forced to then move that money to 070 fund, which is a construction fund. So the board passed last year to move that money, and that was in the amount of $2,533,471. So that is why we're down the $4 million in expenses this year, because we didn't do the 2.1 advance and we didn't transfer that money. So those count as expenses. So, needless to say, any cash balance is at, for just the general fund, $15,265,996. Next, we have the 5-year forecast. The Finance Committee did meet last month. We did get in our final payment from income tax, which was about $11,000 higher than what I had projected. So I did update those numbers. We have put in the forecast 20% increase with the triannual update from the county, and other expenses that were put in here is passed through the Finance Committee, and they're in approval of the 5-year forecast. We do show growth in the next 2 years from the evaluation, since property taxes evaluations are done calendar year, and so next year we'll only see half the growth from the 20%, and then the following year is when we'll see that full growth in 26, 27. So if the board has any questions on the 5-year forecast, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Oh, the last thing to mention in here also is that this is our last years of ESSER funding, and this year the district paid around $650,000 in salaries and another $500,000 in supplies and purchase services, which will be moving back to the general fund, those that we are continuing. So that is why the expenses have a spike in them, is because our last year for ESERS is this year, and also our last year for literacy, but they did extend literacy now. So our leftover money for literacy, we will be able to carry over. So we didn't have to spend all that or lose it this year. Next, we have two unclaimed checks, one in the amount of $900 and one in the amount of $125. We have reissued the $900 check 3 times and sent it to the vendor, but they have yet to cash it. So we would like to move that money to unclaims. If they do ever decide to want the money, they can come back and we will reissue the check. But state statute says that we must claim these money as unclaims money and put it in a special account in the general fund. And then we have our property, fleet, and casualty insurance. We've been with Sorsa since I've been here, and the rate is $88,410. This is an annual expense. It does cover our bus insurance, our liability insurance, and also the property insurance. And then we have donations from last month. We have $50 from Diane Makia Jones to the elementary cakewalk. We have David Can, 11 chess sets for Langston Middle School. We have an anonymous donation of $1,500 to the class of 24 fee balances. And Elizabeth Elrod planted flowers in front of the board, those 2 big pots. She plants those every year, so we'd like to recognize her for those. And that's all I have.
Any questions, comments, discussion?
Well, I was just wondering if we send thank you notes to those people
Yes,
for
we
those
do.
donations.
We
Okay, thank you. I
send
know it's
them-
very old-fashioned.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, please call the roll.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?
Yes.
Ms. Ameca?
Yes. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve superintendent's consent items A through K4.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Hall?
Okay, item A is approval of 80 graduating seniors from Oberlin High School, which will walk across stage on Saturday, June the 1st. I'd like to wish them the best of luck and hope everyone will be able to attend. All of our seniors, that's seniors this year, will be graduating. A little help, a little push, but they're going to go across stage. We're going to go. Item B is approved the Lorain County Public Health School ESY Summer Program. That's our extended school year program. The Lorain County Public Health Department will be sponsoring that for some of our students. Item C is approval of Public School Works. This is a service that we utilize for training for our staff, for various different types of training and compliance, House bills, things like that will go through there. Bloodborne pathogens, all of our staff engage in that training service. Item D is the Mental Health Mars Board agreement that provides services for our students and also our staff as well. Item E is approval of the NIDE Collaborative MOU. That's something we've been working on this year with the NIDE Collaborative and also with Cindy Andrews as well, of coming up with some kind of agreement between NIDE and the school district. And that'll be annually as well, an agreement that we'll work on each year.
Can I just make a quick comment on that?
Yes.
So in the footer, it indicates, although it's signed by the college representative, that it's a draft. I don't know that we want to have everybody sign something that's marked as that is a draft, so it's just her signature on there. If we could maybe bring that to their attention.
Yes.
And then could you also tell us just a little bit, I know a lot more went into it, so you don't have to tell us everything, but kind of what was the process by which we came up with this particular MOU and what motivated it?
We worked with it, took about maybe three or four sessions of us coming together to work on different ideas that needs to be an MOU from Urban League, who had the responsibility of working with the students, clarifying what NIDE was, and also the original vision and intent for NIDE. And we clarified that NIDE was working with 7 students in 7 to 12, and what services they're getting from each grade level. And also we realized too that we'll meet again in August because we want to look at some data to see what direction NIDE need to go into. So the MOU will be evolving and changing as the years go on. Maybe we need some more support in, at the 8th grade level, 9th grade level, or more tutoring or tutorial services, or maybe the Urban League provide different services. So we realized then that, it can't stay stagnant, but in order to help our students, we need to make it evolve a little bit more. It took a lot of collaboration between all the parts and all the bodies here. I'd like Farah too as well. Thank you for being on that committee as well and leading the discussions.
Thank you, and thanks for that additional information.
Okay. Item F is approval of Lorraine County DD preschool agreement. G is bus movers. We utilize bus movers at Eastwood Elementary and also at Prospect Elementary. They're an organization that we have equipment or supplies we're able to sell online, and they'll auction them off for us. And item H, there's some equipment that we wish to auction off there. All the equipment in item H has been evaluated. They're older equipment. However, there will be an auction once approved for the bus movers. So any community members interested, we'll send out a link to that as well. That'll be on our website. So if you're interested in purchasing some of the equipment, it'll be on the website. Item I is approval of the professional service contracts. These are field trips and trips that we contract out with, especially over the summer. Our bus drivers are great by providing a service. NOYO stands for Northern Ohio Youth Orchestra. We provide those trips for, and all the way to Oberlin College and City Rec as well. Item J is a fresh new batch of policies. For the first reading, we met with Neola, and this is the first reading for these policies. Item K is approval of the personnel report. We have some resignations. Ben Icecamp is on there as well, but you'll see him later, so we're going to miss him as his counselor position. He'll be on later doing another position for next year. Item 2 is a change in positions. Item 3, you'll see Mr. Icecamp there for welcome him as assistant principal for Oberlin Elementary School. The interview team selected him there as well, so he'll be assistant principal next year at Oberlin Elementary. Thank you, Mr. Icecamp. And we also have our new athletic director, Daniel Zilich, will be serving as our athletic director. He was selected by our interview team from 2 interview teams, and we're happy to have him. He's already been on board working with Bryce and the high school as well. I'm looking forward to a lot of different things we're going to be doing, moving the athletic department forward. Not sure if you'd like to say anything or not.
Just want to say a quick welcome from my end. Thank you for Dr. Hall and the community as far as giving me this opportunity. Really looking forward to it, coming from Homestead Falls and growing a new start here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I guess I should have given Mr. Icecamp an opportunity, but we'll see. He'll still be coaching soccer, so those out there wondering, he'll still be our soccer coach. Item 3. Oh, so we just did item 3. Item 4 is our stipends. Most of the stipends here are for our summer program. We have about, I would say 45 kids or so signed up for our K-8 summer program. And we also have summer opportunities will go on for our high school as well. So in June, we may authorize some more, but we'd like to wish our students and our parents an opportunity, provide an opportunity to send their students to our summer program here. And it'll be hosted at Oberlin Elementary School and also Oberlin High School as well. We also will have different opportunities as Techie Camp and other camps like that be available. Parents can go to our website. We actually have a link there for summer programming. So if you'd like to see any type of summer programming that we have and offer, they'll be right there on our website, and you'll be able to sign up from there. Request approval for item A through K4 from the board.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Ms. Getson?
Yes.
Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?
Yes.
Ms. Ameca?
Yes. Okay, so next we have comments, discussions, and board update. Does anyone have a report?
I can't remember if we've had a meeting since the endowment board sent out emails funding everyone's wonderful projects. So I wanted to say thank you to all of the teachers who worked really hard to put in those, and we funded lots of wonderful things. And it was so great to see the kids who we funded their trip to the theater come and talk today. Yeah, and that board will meet again in August.
September 5th.
September. Oh, right, we just moved that to September.
Any other, do you have an update? No? Any other updates? No?
I missed the tech meeting, so I hope someone else will report on that.
Quick update on what we're doing as far as services will be utilized next year on our
Thanks.
Okay, well, I have an update for Ann Sham, who's our Lorain County JVS representative. And there's two significant updates for this month. JVS is beginning a summer clinic renovation project to use funds that need to be spent by next year. The plan had been to use the federal funds to pay for an occupational therapist for the last 2 years, but each year the vendor secured a grant that unexpectedly covered the expense. The JVS Administration and Facilities Committee put together this plan to upgrade the clinic area last fall to ensure we could take advantage of the funds. Because of the increased enrollment and state funding to CTEs, Dr. Faircloth does not anticipate needing to go to the community for additional funding in the next couple of years. Projects are being undertaken to address several prioritized upgrade projects the Administration, Facilities Committee, and Board identified. Can someone tell me what CTEs is?
Career Technical Education.
Thank you. So that's the report from JVS rep, and then the town and gown does not necessarily have an update, but I don't know if the community is aware. We have an interim city manager right now, and so the interim city manager, John Clark, reached out to us to reschedule our regular meetings where members, representatives of the board who are part of town and gown will meet with the heads of city council, so the president and vice president, as well as with Dr. Hall, the interim city manager, and I think that's usually the only folks that participate in that. Oh, and a representative of the college. They reached out to David Hertz from the college so that we can get a couple of meetings on the books as they go through their transition of getting a new city manager. So I will update you soon with dates, but we've started that conversation. That's all that I have. Anybody else have anything? Okay, hearing nothing else there. Hearing of the public on other items. I have first here John Niski. If you could please come to the mic, state your name and your address and your relationship to the school district, and then please, your comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you have more to say, we can discuss having you come back up after everybody's spoken.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me, members of the board and members of the district staff that are in attendance today. My name is John Niski. I live at 15310 West Road in Oberlin, Ohio. I am here because I just wanted to say a round of thanks to a couple of administrators and talk a little bit about the Handle with Care program that Dr. Howell mentioned and that Ms. Weber mentioned as well. By way of just some background, I'm a professional clinical counselor supervisor. I've been in the behavioral health field for about 20 years now. I've also worked as a volunteer board member with the Mars board here in Lorain County. I have 4 students in the district at each school, 1 at the high school, 2 in the middle school, and 1 here at the elementary school. In my current work, I go across the country and I work with different community behavioral health centers, some here in Lorain County, trying to help them refine their contractual work with payers based on values-based reimbursement and outcomes-based reimbursement, with the idea being we want to help move behavioral health care away from a fee-for-service model to an outcomes-based model where we pay people to get better. We pay providers to get better. So I wanted to say a couple of special thanks to Ms. Weber for her presentation earlier. It was very helpful and very informative. So thank you, Ms. Weber. Thank you. I also wanted to say thank you, Mr. Eiskamp. I've had a couple of interactions with Mr. Eiskamp about behavioral health thoughts, and I'm very glad to see him in his new role. I was out in the community visiting with providers, and I spoke with one who, when I told them that I had kids in the Oberlin district, specifically called out Mr. Nimini and Principal Betts at the high school as being terrific resources for both prevention and for behavioral health services, and that they were a key jewel in the crown that Oberlin has. So I wanted to call that out and say thank you. I want to say a special thanks to Mr. Nimini. He and I are going to be working together to try to form some parent groups around prevention and behavioral health education and try and focus some of that discussion where I'll try and pull in the parents and get the information to Mr. Nimini so we can figure out how and where parents want feedback or need feedback or what they want to address. So thank you, Mr. Nimini, for that. I appreciate your support. And then last but certainly not least, I want to say special thanks to Mr. Reese at the high school. If you guys don't know Mr. Reese, he runs a program there. He was telling about this, and he shared some anecdotal information about it. He runs a program there called the Oberlin High School Men's Work Project, which is a effort being put on through the Hey Brother program, which was created by an Oberlin High School alumni. And the purpose of that group is to redefine what it means to be a man through education and training, and to build health communities free of harms of traditional masculinity. And this is done by teaching men and boys to embody healthy masculinity, fully process emotions, embrace authenticity, and show up as a compassionate, empathetic community leaders. We were talking really in connection with student athletes at the school, and the male student athletes. I've worked as a volunteer coach for my son and his teams for about the last 5 years, and he was telling me some of the anecdotal information about that group. It sounds fantastic. If you guys have not heard from him, I would highly encourage the board to bring him here and have him talk a little about what he's doing. It's fantastic by what I've heard. Last but not least, I just want to say the Handle with Care program, in short, is a program, it's a trauma-informed program that's designed to help build bridges and connections of community of support between schools and first responders. The idea being that if a first responder, meaning fire, EMS, or police departments, go out to a call and there's a child there, a school-age child there, they are able to take that child's name and where they go, and they have a process by which they can notify the school that, hey, this child was involved in a first responder incident that may have some impact on the school district the next day or in the days to come, and they create an alert, and that alert gets to the school, and the school has people that are trained that are aware of that and know what to do. The idea behind this is to build that community of support and to reduce the likelihood of adverse child experiences, also known as ACEs. If you are not aware of what ACEs are traumatic events that can occur in a childhood. The idea being that the more ACEs you have, combined with social determinative health factors like food insecurity, poverty, segregation, all these sorts of things can contribute to adverse health outcomes in the long term for people, not just for behavioral health reasons, but for physical health reasons because of chronic stress. Those adverse health conditions can be physical health, they can be behavioral health, et cetera. So the idea is we want to do everything we can to get those kids identified and get them supported. And this program is really it's a low investment, high return by kind of building that communication out. And I was very happy to hear from Dr. Hall and from Mr. Nimini that we are going to be moving forward with that program in the fall. I just came from the Mars board meeting prior to this meeting, and I was happy to hear and tell them there that I'd heard from the school district, and the school district's going to move forward with it as well. So I just want to say thank you for all those things. Thank you for the work that you're doing. We know so much of what occurs in the students' lives occurs outside of the classroom, and it can be difficult to manage, but I'm so grateful to be here and to hear all the work and see how the community comes together to try and address these issues and keep our students safe and healthy. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris.
And next we have Doris Jankovich. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name. If you could come up and please state your name, your address, relationship to the school district, and you can make your comments. And you have about 5 minutes because I think Mr. Niski ran over a little bit, which is fine. There's only 2 of you, so.
Hi, my name is Doris Jankovich. Address, I think you want, right?
Yes.
173 Hollywood Street in Oberlin, and I have 2 boys in the elementary school. And so I actually have a few follow-up questions for Ms. Weber. I'm curious, how many students have been suspended in 2023, 2024, meaning suspended out of the school? I would like to know for what reasons, how many students returned, and within what time frame? And then what was the retention of those students? Meaning, do we actually have students who were suspended and have not come back? There's a rumor that I heard about one student who's very dear to me. I don't really know him, but I know a lot of stories about him from my son, and I think we're not serving that young man well. But I know there is FERPA, is that right? Or that, individuals cannot be talked about. So I want to know, do we actually serve all our students? Meaning, when we suspend them, do we use everything we can to bring them back? Do I need to send these questions to somebody?
Well, yeah, one, we can ask if Mrs. Weber has the information today, because I don't want to put her on the spot if she does not.
Right.
Would you have those? Yeah, I didn't think you would. So she doesn't have those numbers today, but we're happy to collect that data and present it. We'd have to present it at the next meeting. Is that
Perfect,
okay?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I assumed so as much, yeah. And then this is more about academics or learning. So I believe Oberlin could be an excellent school district with all the incredible resources in our backyard. And I think our aim should be to be an excellent school district and to be known as such. And as of right now, I think we have quite a way to go. I think there are many reasons as to why, and here is one of them. A friend of mine, Professor Catherine Thompson-Jones, she's a philosophy professor at Oberlin College and an internationally known philosopher or scholar. She developed a course in 2017 called Philosophy in the Schools, and she calls it FITS. And she and her philosophy students would go into the Oberlin Elementary School, right, starting in 2017, and teach philosophy to our children. And during COVID, this was suspended, so in 2022, she came back to Oberlin Elementary School and approached the school asking, to start FITS again. And she was just told the elementary school was no longer interested. So then she pursued another route. So she met with IB coordinator, curriculum coordinator, principals, and the answer, so meaning not just Oberlin Elementary School, middle school, high school, and the answer was always the same. If you can find a teacher who's willing to carve out time in their lesson plans, sure, go ahead. And so my question is, how is this possible? How are we as a school district turning down the opportunity to have a philosopher teach our children for free every spring? Why don't we want to offer philosophy courses to our children as part of our curriculum? Philosophy is supposed to be part of the IB program, and there's ample research showing that it actually increases literacy and numeracy. So currently, Kate, or Dr. Thompson-Jones, is teaching she taught in the spring of 2023 and 2024 in our middle school, and she's planning to do that again in spring 2025. But here is how or why. It wasn't because the administration embraced this and said, let's do it. She went to individual teachers, found a couple in the middle school who said, let's do it, right? I think these people are open-minded and incredibly forward-thinking and curious, right? So that's all that she's offering, even though she, from her perspective, has been begging the schools to teach philosophy in the schools for free every spring. And so again, I wonder, how can a school administration not want this for their and our students? How is this possible? And I would like things like this to change. Similarly, we used the art museum before COVID. Our kids would go there every Friday. I'm not seeing that anymore. Just to give you a sense, in Europe, art historians are saying there are about 100 pieces that Europe doesn't have. And Oberlin, Allen Art Museum has one of those in the United States, right? So there is a piece in our art museum that all of Europe would love. Our kids could walk there every week and look at it. We have tons of, the college is offering education for students. So those are just two reasons I think we're not as good as we could be. And I want to know why we aren't embracing these opportunities.
I'm going to ask that because your questions were pretty specific, do you mind putting them in an email to me and Dr. Hall? I don't know, have you sent them to somebody else already?
Yes, we talked about it briefly.
Oh, you already have it in writing?
Yes, I do
Okay.
think I have it in writing.
Right, yeah. Thank you, yeah. Okay, and then, I mean, what we try to do with questions that are raised during this portion, we usually don't have the answers readily at hand. We do just like we did today, go do our research and due diligence, come back and report out on what the answers are as we have them at the next meeting. So we have a meeting in June, so we will report out then. Okay, thank you. Thank you to everybody for your comments and for your commitment to the schools and your input. And that's it. We have our future meetings. June 18th, 2024 is a regular meeting here, 6 o'clock, Oberlin Elementary School. We take a break in July for everybody. And then on August 27th, 2024, we have a regular meeting at 6 p.m. at the elementary school as well. And so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden? Ms. Garrett?
Yes.
Ms. Stagel?